Welcome to Bitter Reality Brewing. This is the top 10 tips, tricks, recommendations, hacks, whatever you want to call them. Don't forget, like, subscribe. If you love beer, remember we're still doing that poll. Crush that subscribe, make that red go away, nail the like. Definitely appreciate it. The sharing is huge. Definitely appreciate that massively. Thank you to everyone out there. And before we jump into the top 10, which we'll do very quickly, as I said, I always share whatever I'm drinking. This is the Ravenous Pig Brewing Company out of Winter Park. Pretty close though, right next door to each other. Winter Park, Florida. It is Indian Pale Ale, 5 points. It's a West Coast IPA. Really good. Very nice beer. My dad kind of lives down in those neck of the woods, so I'm down there from time to time. I have not been to that brewery, but I definitely need to now because this is really good. Let's go right into the top 10. Number 1, if you don't have time to clean your all-in-one brewing system or even a kettle, as soon as you're done with it, that day, and I'm saying that day, unless it's early in the morning and you're done later at night, fill it with water. And I actually did that today. I always try to clean the same day, but it is freezing outside and I had to run across town for something. I just simply don't want to be freezing cold out there and working with water. Those two don't go together very well, especially if you're up north, you definitely understand. And I don't want to bring it in the house. My wife will kill me. I'll make a huge mess like I used to. So fill it with water to keep everything moist. Put it where it can be safe. I put mine in my shed so I don't have to worry about too much moisture on the actual electronics, but I filled it with water. Tomorrow during lunch, I'll take some PBW, get it all cleaned out, and a little later in the day, I'll do some star sand and I'll be all good. Number 2, plastic fermenters. And I've been seeing this on Reddit. I've seen it on Facebook. People who are newer to brewing or people who have never done sours, once you use a plastic fermenter for a sour, that will always be used and can almost, and I say almost because there's always a chance, almost never be cleaned well enough to not reinfect a future brew. There was a gentleman in Reddit just literally a couple weeks ago, and actually a few days ago, but a few weeks ago, there was this one that I'm referring to. And he was like, every time my beers come out and they're kind of tart with a little sourness, it's kind of weird. He goes, I did this, and every time. And finally, they figured out about 4 or 5 brews back, he did a sour. Well, there's your problem. The plastic, it's just the lightest little hint of a scratch that you don't feel or see, and you're never gonna get it clean, and it's gonna always be sour. So just keep that in mind. That's not something that everybody seems to know, but at least the majority of the people I associate with, I'll say definitely do know that because we've been beat over the head on that one and we know. Number 3, because just in case your plastic fermenter is a brew bucket, if you're using a brew bucket, save your fingertips. Save your fingertips. Go to Home Depot, go to Lowe's, get one of those big bucket lid removers. It's a big plastic thing, looks like a wrench almost, pops the top. It's just so much easier. I actually applied that same concept recently to these brew firm tops because they're so hard to get off those extracts. But instead of using one of those pop tops, I took a razor blade, put 2 cuts in it so that suddenly it just comes right apart. It was kind of nice. Number 4, for carboys, like these plastic ones, you can't put those metal handles on them just so you can carry them a little easier. So number 4 is consider a Nylon Carboy Carrier. They're very cheap. I've seen them on eBay. I've seen them elsewhere. I'll put a link to wherever I find one. But consider the Nylon Carriers. This one's actually from my big mouth bubbler. So it's got big old handles like this. Those plastic ones, you can't put that piece on there, and sometimes they're really heavy. I don't actually use the carriers to move them around so much. It's when I take them out of my fermenter and I bring them in and I want to do a transfer, I use it because I can hold them really steady to keep them from shaking because I don't want to disturb the yeast bed on the bottom or the trub or whatever you want to call it. But consider a Nylon Carboy Carrier and be careful when you lift them because I've had them tip a little bit. It's just, it's going to save your back a little bit, but it's also going to keep you from dropping it or breaking something because those plastic ones, if you drop that thing with 5 gallons of wort, it's probably going to crack. Number 5, tilt hydrometers. I know you can get super cheap hydrometers. I know you can get really nice hydrometers, like from Brewing America for $30 with the whole kit and everything, which I live in. I have to have my physical hydrometers. But a tilt hydrometer, there are so many pros over any of the cons. It's simply worth it. If you don't brew a lot, get at least one. If you brew a ton, you're going to need more. I have 4. I did have a problem with one recently. They are taking care of it. It's awesome. I'm going to have 5 here soon. I love my tilt hydrometers. And right now, all I have is an empty box because I have 4 tilt hydrometers all working for me. I was reading where this person's talking about how they keep wasting their beer because they keep taking hydrometer readings. Why? If you had a tilt hydrometer, you can just walk up and immediately know what your gravity of your beer is and go, huh. And if it looks like it's a little off, because I joke that sometimes it gets a little bit of, what I call yeast poop on top, but you shake it up, whatever you do, knock it off, give it a little bit settle, and you go, huh, yeah, I'm not at final gravity. Good example, I have my Irish extra stout, and it came down to 1.024, and it just sat there, and it sat there. I pitched a little more yeast, it's still sitting there. I'm dropping stuff, it's just sitting there. I pitched the Irish yeast to go with the British yeast, and now it's down 5 points, and it's still going down. And I never had to open the container except for to, of course, add the yeast and add a few other little things. But I didn't have to take out and do a wort. I didn't have to do all that crap. It was so much easier. The tilts, they interface with Brewfather. I know a lot of you are big Brewfather users, but it interfaces with the Brewfather. You have tilt apps on your Android, your iOS, and I'm gonna do a video eventually on it, but on the Tilt Pi. I love my Tilt Pi. I need to put the little chip back in and start it back up. And now there's even a tilt bridge. It's been out for a little while. It's kind of like a little electronic cheap version of the Tilt Pi to help give you a little web server where you can go, oh, hey, here's all of my brewers, all my fermenting beers that are brewing. Yeah, I can see the gravities right away. Once you see it hits final gravity and it stays there for a while, you're like, oh, hey, it's time to bottle or time to keg, whatever it may be. But and I'll put links down below. But there are just, once you have a Tilt Pi, you'll go, once you have a tilt hydrometer, you'll go, wow, I wish I had one of these before. I wish I had more. I love these things. Every time you put a beer in your fermenter and you don't have a tilt available, you're gonna go, it's kind of expensive. And it is, I'm not saying it's not, but oh man, the benefits are just huge. I joke that they're like Pokemon. I gotta collect them all, you know what I mean? There's 8 of them, so. Number 6, this is super cheap compared to a hydrometer, but right here. And this is the long one, so the side, or vertical instead of horizontal. Stick-on thermometers. They're cheap, they're easy, and you can put them on anything, but it helps you to monitor your temperatures. I am getting ready to do a saison that I like to ferment at room temps. My room temps are usually between 72, 73 Fahrenheit at the floor level, which is where it's going to be. This is awesome. I mean, I'm still gonna probably throw a tilt in there, but the key is I can look right at the container, and this is usually off by max of 1 degree if it's stuck right to the wort. Otherwise, it's pretty much dead on. I'm probably gonna say closer to probably half a degrees. It was 72, and since I've been holding it, it's almost 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Number 7, and I can't be without it, infrared thermometer. And like I said, I'll put links to whatever I can think of down there. The tilt, definitely. The stick-on, you can find those all day long. Infrared, there's a new one by Inkbird I'm considering getting. I like Inkbird. Inkbird makes some great products, especially for us homebrewers. But this thing is awesome. I love it. It's not 100%. Sometimes it's off a degree or two because it's getting the surface temp. But it lets me know when I'm doing like sparges, things like that. I'm just checking my sparge water. Just huge, huge time saver. Boom. Number 8, buying base malts in bulk locally can save you money. If you're actually going to use it, buy it in bulk. Don't waste your time buying small amounts, and definitely buy it local because you don't have to worry about the shipping. It might cost a little bit more than somebody's deal online, but when you add the shipping in, it's probably a lot cheaper to buy it locally. Since we're talking about buying malts you may not use right away, number 9, don't have malts that you aren't going to be using right away milled. Ask for them to be uncrushed. So if you're buying grains that you aren't going to brew with soon, ask for them to be uncrushed. They'll last longer if they're uncrushed. Their shelf life is much shorter once they've been crushed. Number 10. Yeah, we're kind of going into a theme now. Grain mills. Grain mills aren't expensive. It's about $100 to get what they call a cereal crusher. It's 2-roller, not the big green beast or whatever that monster mash is, a monster grain mill, whatever you want to call it. It's got 3 rollers, kind of twist you like a yoga person in a weird stance. But grain mills, they're not expensive. Consider investing in one such as like this. And I know this has changed a lot. It's looked completely different now. But the cereal crusher, I'll make sure I leave a link, but that thing's about $100 year round, plus or minus a few bucks. To me, that was one of the best investments ever. I think my wife got it for me years ago for Christmas. and it is definitely paid for itself. I have used it way more than $100 worth in a heartbeat. So thank you again for joining us here at Bitter Reality Brewing. Don't forget, like, subscribe. If that subscribe button's red, something's broken, maybe your mouse is broken, just kill it. I definitely appreciate it. Thank you again for joining us here at Bitter Reality Brewing.